Hey everyone, Mr. MC here. This is a lap guide for your current lap time challenge taking place at Trial Mountain with the 1997 Toyota Supra GT500, and we're on the racing hard tires. To access this lap time challenge, going over to sport mode, so make sure you have menu book number 9 completed. Going over to online time trial and select the current lap time challenge that is on the left. Alright, so this is a 2-week event ending on January 17, 2024. Hey, it's my birthday. Anyways, so we're using a 1997 Toyota Supra GT500 with BOP turned on, and no, you cannot tune your car for this event. Your goal is to get within the 3% time range of the world record time when the event ends, as when the event ends, that is when your lap time gets counted. Here are my in-game tags in case you want to look up my replay, which I already have shared on there. I'll also leave it in the description down below. But now let's get started with the lap guide. Now, as the lap guide goes on, please note that I exit out of a lot of these corners at a higher gear to try to maintain control of the car, and throttle control is especially important because this car likes to kick up the rear quite a bit. So you need to maintain a lot of throttle control to keep the car from stepping out. But anyways, bring yourself towards the right side of the track, and you're gonna brake shortly after the big yellow wall on the right starts. I will show you exactly where I start to brake, and actually if you have the driving markers turned on, you can pretty much just use this driving marker as your braking and turning point. Use 50% braking power for a very short moment because you want to try to maintain as much momentum as possible, making use of the blue and white curves. And as you go through those right and left turns, you want to do a little throttle control to try to keep the car planted on the ground and to be able to make it through this left turn, going nearly flat out. Then you want to brake before the big yellow wall on the right ends, so full braking power for a short moment, turning in when the tunnel starts, and start to ease off of the brakes as you're turning in, so doing a bit of trail braking. Go down to third gear for more rotation, but exit on fourth gear and be really careful with your throttle input, as this is one part where the car really likes to step out. Then bring yourself towards the left because you're braking before you pass the sign that is on the left. That sign is also your turning point. Go down to second gear for more rotation, but exit on third gear. Be really careful with your throttle input because this is another part where the car will step out on really easily. Then brake and turn in when the curb on the left ends. Gonna stay on third gear, 50% braking power for a short moment. Go up to fourth gear and just be really careful with your throttle input, bringing yourself towards the right side of the track. And you're using the very start of the tunnel as your braking and turning point. Go down to third gear for more rotation, using 50% braking power for a short moment, and just before you hit what would be the normal apex if you didn't cut that corner, that's when you want to get on the throttle. And that turn is a bit difficult to nail down because you want to get on the throttle a little early, but you don't want to get on the throttle too early, otherwise you risk hitting the wall. Bring yourself towards the right side of the track if you haven't done so yet, because you're braking just before you reach the sign that is on the right. Full braking power, turning in before the curb on the right ends. Go down to third gear for more rotation and use this boulder that is on the left as your accelerating point. So go on fourth gear and carefully get back on the throttle, as the car can step out over here if you're not careful. Then you want to bring yourself towards the left and brake before you reach the broken trunk that is on the left. So I kind of stagger the braking, so I go 50% braking power for a short moment, then full braking power. And before you reach the boulder that is on the right, that is where you turn in. Go down to second gear, doing a bit of trail braking, but then you want to exit on fourth gear and carefully get on the throttle to try to maintain full control of the car. When you're just about halfway down this hill, that is where you brake and turn in shortly after. So where you reach that dip, that's where you turn in. Go down to third gear, but exit on fourth gear. So third gear is to turn in a bit more. Fourth gear is a bit more control coming out of the turn. Bring yourself towards the right, and you're braking shortly after the curb on the right start. So you're going to be at full braking power, and you want to use the end of the curb that is on the right as your turning point. So you're going to go all the way down to first gear and just try to take a really sharp line through the first part of the chicane to set yourself up for the final part of the chicane. Going up to second gear, and you want to be really careful on your throttle. Go up to third gear as you enter the final turn, and again, just nice and careful getting back on the throttle, and go ahead and finish your lap. We'll go through this again, but this time I will not stop the video. Alright, so here we go, starting the new lap. So this first section is all about maintaining the momentum. So brake just after the yellow wall on the right starts, and you just try to maintain as much momentum as possible, being really careful with your throttle input so you don't end up in the grass. Brake before the tunnel starts, and actually you using the very start of the tunnel as your turning point. Go up to fourth gear as you exit the turn, and again, just really careful with your throttle inputs, as this car will step out if you're not careful enough with your throttle inputs. And exiting the corners at a high gear also helps with maintaining control of the car. You're braking and turning in when that tunnel starts, and you can just try to maintain that momentum. That left turn we just went through is pretty difficult to nail down because you want to get a really good exit into the back straight, so you want to get on the throttle as early as possible, but don't get on it too early, otherwise you risk hitting the wall. Anyways, brake before you pass the yellow sign that was on the right, and using that boulder as your apex, so start to accelerate there. And this part you want to be a little careful here, so I personally brake just a little bit early to make sure that I can make this turn and to keep the car nice and stable. Brake when you're about halfway down the hill, use that dip as your turning point. Exiting on fourth gear for a bit more control, just nice and careful getting back on the throttle. And brake shortly after the curb on the right starts for the final chicane, taking a really sharp line for the first part of the chicane, and then just trying to straighten up the car for the exit of the final chicane to get a fast start to end your lap. And with this, I'm gonna be honest, I'm actually still surprised I was able to do this. I got a 150.9, which it took me quite a bit of time to try to get this time, as I'm still really rusty from not playing this game that much lately, but really happy I was able to do that time. But anyways, that's going to be it for this video. This is Mr. CA, and I'll see you in the next video.